Okay, it's 6 p.m., so we'll call the meeting to order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, March 28th. Before we do the invocation and pledge, I'll just, just mention that Commissioner Ellington still dealing with some health issues, not able to be here tonight, and we want to keep our thoughts and prayers for Commissioner Watson and his wife as they welcome their newest addition to their family. They're doing well, though, so just keep them in your thoughts and prayers tonight. So if you would, please rise for invocation. Thank you for doing this for us tonight.
If you will, bow your heads and pray. Father God in heaven, thank you, Lord, for this place, Thomaston, Georgia, and Upson County. God, we do pray for these county commissioners who are out dealing with other things tonight. For a blessing on them. Pray for those who are gathered here that will make good and wise choices, Lord, so that ultimately your will is done on this piece of your world. God, there are many things that are, I'm sure, on our hearts and minds, and there's much damage to our community in this area in the storms of the last couple of days. So, God, we just pray that you amend what is broken and help us to find ultimate healing in Christ. In his name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. The pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right. Anyone signed up? No one signed up for public comments tonight. So moving on then. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Gentlemen, for your consideration are the approval of the March 14th regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Second. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right, moving right along. New business. Discussion and possible consideration of a request for proposal for the solicitor of the Upson County Probate Court. So y'all know that we, based on some circumstances in the court, we sent out an RFP. You have, Alan, we had 2 responses to the RFP for those services for the probate. One was from Mr. Mark Irvin. And I guess just for the record, I'll just say how much it was for. For the service. He was very qualified to act as solicitor in that court, and his annual fee proposed is $39,000. The other response was from Mr. Heath English, another highly qualified individual for this position, and his fee requested for this service is $37,500. We've got some other not issues, but things we need to consider. Because one of the things we're talking about doing is, consolidating a lot of this, and that needs to be discussed in executive session for personnel. So I guess I would ask that we hold off on this until after our executive session to consider which of these RFPs for this service. So if
We need a motion to table it till after.
I don't know if it's not.
If
Just-
you're gonna discuss
We're going to talk about it after. We'll just delay action on item B until after our executive session. Okay. Just wanted to get those RFPs out of the way and out there. All right. Next item for our consideration is the discussion and possible consideration of bid results for the guaranteed maximum price for the Judicial Center construction project by Parish Construction. Jason, I'll let you tee it up for,
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, we discussed this as late as last Wednesday, or when did we have it? Last Thursday in our work session. This was the only topic for that work session, so that was roughly about a 2.5-hour conversation where the board went through the bids for the different components of the construction of the facility individually, and also went through what in your packet now is Appendix C, your project alternate. So based on the discussions from the work session, you're looking at a revised package from Parrish that includes items from Appendix C that you wanted to see included in the total GMP, or guaranteed maximum price. So with that, Jim Fallon from Parrish is here to present the revised package and answer any questions you may have that did not come up during the work session. And then we'd be looking for authorization from the board to approve that guaranteed maximum price and authorize the chairman to execute the documents after legal review.
so, so Jim, you want to, I guess, just give us a very high level for the record, but basically a summation of kind of what you presented the other day, and we may have a few questions before we.
Okay. Board, Mr. Chairman, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. We had a great bid day, and just kind of going through the book, following that, from our meeting earlier this week, we have a guaranteed maximum price of $20,829,762. And it covers a complete scope of work, including the alternates that we discussed. And some interesting statistics. We received 83 bids for different bid packages that on March 9th when it bid. There were 7 bidders from Upson County. There were 34 bidders from, we say regional, which is in a 34-mile radius, or 45-mile radius, excuse me. 11% of the contract was awarded to Upson County and to contractors, and 46% was awarded to the regional contractors. So that's we recognize how important it is to keep things local. From the alternates that we discussed earlier in the week, we've included those prices in there, and you'll see that on Appendix C. And those have been included in our scope of work.
So, I hate to interrupt, but so it's kind of hard to delineate on this page. So just so to make sure I'm reading this right, so the alternates that were included are B1, B3, B4, B6, B8, B9, and B12. Is that correct?
Plus,
Is that
flipping the page over.
yeah?
You're right on that page.
B14
but also
and B2.
B14 and B2.
Okay. Yeah, they look like they're highlighted. It's kind of hard to tell
I'm
in
with
this
you.
font, you know. So
I'm with you.
I just wanted to make sure that we all understood which alternates that we're talking about are included in this this total price.
And then also this includes the allowances that we talked about, and our GMP also includes those. It's about $1,601,900 worth of alternates, but it's been included in there. And basically we are ready to start immediately with, as far as the schedule goes, on May 1st. And we have a October 30th completion date, October 30th, 24 completion date. So Do y'all have any questions or would like to go over some additional information?
I don't. Y'all have any questions or anything on this? So, so the bottom line is, $20.8 million. That's, what did I say last week? That's the drive it out the door price.
Drive it out the door price.
Yeah,
That's right.
but it can be better because we've got allowances in there and contingency in there that
Right.
we may not
And
use.
to be clear, every penny of allowances and contingency that's not used gets returned back to the county.
Right. Okay. So this is the most it's going to cost. We had budgeted 22 million. So it's a good start. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question, and it's one thing we didn't cover in the work session. I imagine it's a simple answer. There probably are a couple of other alternates that the board may be interested in that we did not include in the GMP because they wanted to get potentially a little further along in the project and then maybe revisit some of them at some point. And I think we discussed a little more than were included. I think at the end of the work session, we had asked Jim to read back the ones that we discussed, and I guess we agreed these would be the ones that would be presented.
Right.
But there's a couple of items in here that are favored by some of the commissioners. Will there be an opportunity for us to decide the ones we didn't include? Like, will you give us guidance on dates where we need to give you affirmative action if we're going to try to pursue it, or potentially miss the boat on adding it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, we know what those items are, we've discussed it. And it's, there's allowances in there to cover, some, if not all of them.
Mhm.
So if it is determined that, hey, let's do something, we'll keep you in the loop on each item and let you know where it fits in the schedule, so there won't be any surprises. And then we can discuss those as they become, I'm gonna use the word critical for the project.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a follow-up question, if it's okay. Would there be an opportunity at such a time to release contingency or allowances for those as the project progresses?
Absolutely.
Okay. So therefore, the GMP wouldn't change necessarily, but we still might be able to add.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you.
No questions. You all ready?
All right. Well, so what we need is a decision to form the motion is to say go.
Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make a motion. I hate that we didn't have any more local people apply than we did, but we have to do what we have to do. And the people we've chosen, these are actually their contractors, not our contractors. They decided, who would be the best fit for the job. So I'll make a motion, we go ahead and move forward with the, to start the construction of the Justice Center for a total price of, let me turn to this other page because I was looking at two books at one time. 20,829,762 bucks. And another thing, everybody be mindful of change orders. So that's where that's where we lose money.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All right. So I have a motion made and seconded to approve basically, I'm gonna just say it. Try to clean it up just a little bit.
Say it in English.
So to approve the guaranteed maximum price for the Judicial Center for $20,829,762. Does that suffice? Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
It's a big number, but it's under budget.
All right. Any more discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Wilder,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. And you know, you know, we obviously had communications with Commissioner Ellington and Commissioner Watson, and you know, we felt confident to go ahead and move forward on this tonight. So that, you know, had they been here, it would have been just as favorable of a vote. So anyway, so look forward to time to turn some dirt and
Tomorrow.
and make it happen. So everybody's going to be looking forward to seeing progress down there, and I just appreciate everything that Parrish and Rob and your folks at IPG and staff, Alan, and everybody that's had a hand in getting all this together, Jason, everybody, so that now, you know, this project came to us in the form of a request from folks that use the courthouse. And this thing is, just want to remind everybody, this is being built for the citizens of Upson County at the request of those individuals. The Board of Commissioners, you know, we're merely the mechanism to get it done and pay for it. So this is, you know, for you here tonight and you watching on YouTube, you know, this is something you should be proud of. This is your judicial center, and you know, it was voted on by the voters overwhelmingly. And I remind everybody once again that it's being paid for through the bond referendum, not property tax revenue. So anyway, I see this as a win, and we've still got a lot more work to do on it. But I know you've got a very aggressive schedule, and I know that Jamie and you guys will make it happen. So appreciate everything. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I want to say one thing, you know, and I've been saying this since the beginning. 99% of the population never has to go to the courthouse. It's only for those people that need to be there, and the people that got to work there with those kind of people, they need a better system. And hopefully everybody will be happy with our decision tonight. I know there are probably going to be a few naysayers, but like I said, it's 99% of the population of this county are great people. But there's that 1%, it probably ain't even 1%, but they're the ones that need that judicial center to send them to where they need to be. And the people that put them there, the clerk of Superior Court, all the judges, everybody else, they need a safe work environment. And that's my opinion on why they needed what we're going to get.
Safe and secure place for some vital records too.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, so there's a lot of people that go down there for
Yep.
for that type of stuff too. So it's going to consolidate everything. It'll certainly be a lot more safe, secure, and efficient, which is what we were asked to do by the folks that use that facility and perform those functions. All right. Well, let's move on. Next on the agenda is you guys again, because one of the things we've got to know is discussion and possible consideration for the electrical services, the RFP, request for proposals for the Upson County Judicial Center.
Okay.
So, Jim,
Back in January, we put out a RFP and to provide electrical services for the courthouse, judicial center, and we put it out to three companies, Upson EMC, City of Thomaston, and Georgia Power. Georgia Power declined, and we accepted bids from Upson EMC and from the City of Thomaston. We did this in a two-phase process. The first phase was to discuss the actual, I guess, snapshot of what the prices, the overall fees and prices would be. And at that time, and as I wrote to the board, or as Parrish wrote to the board, our recommendation was Upson EMC. Then we decided, so that we could do our due diligence, we put out an addendum to that request, just saying, let's review what services look like over 10 years. And the results we got back was we would still recommend Upson EMC for those services. And so our recommendation today is that, from the perspective that we've looked at, we would recommend Upson EMC for the services.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions? Anything else to add?
No, maybe perhaps only, Mr. Chairman, I think during the work session that they had given us the actual differential over 10 years, that might be worth noting for the record. Other than that, no.
Okay. Over a 10-year period, Upson EMC, their fees would be $1 million, or their rates, I guess you would say, would total to $1,141,876. City of Thomaston gave us two options. One to, this gets a little complicated, but I'll keep it simple. One to keep the fees just with no prepayment, just doing it straight over a 10-year period. It would be $1,649,702. The second option was after a payment of $20,500, it would then be, the total would be $1,489,856. So to summarize, if you go with option one, these are round numbers here, we're basically looking at Upson EMC would be about $500,000 less expensive, and if you go with the option two, Upson EMC would be roughly $300,000 less expensive.
Okay. All right. Well, I know we kind of got a quandary here now, so, Michelle, Mr. Wilder.
I'd like to, I have to recuse myself. I would like to recuse myself. And since we don't have a quorum here, I'd like to offer a motion or recommend that we table this until our next meeting where we have a complement of voters, commissioners present to make that final decision.
You want to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, so we're gonna table the vote until our next meeting. It saves you a trip back. You don't have to come back and say the same thing that you told us twice already. So
I don't mind coming back.
well, we don't mind you coming back. But we appreciate the work that you guys did and IPG and your folks did in providing us some data and some analysis of this to make sure that the choice is geared towards what's in the long-term best interest of the taxpayers. So thank y'all again, and so we'll have this on our agenda at our next meeting. So thank y'all. All right.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we need a roll call on that motion second
Okay.
for the table.
All right. So Ms. Jones,
Commissioner Wilder,
Recuse myself.
this is the table.
He made the motion.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Chairman Allen.
Yes. All right.
When are we gonna break ground?
Me first.
All right, let's move along. Next item is the discussion and possible consideration an automatic aid agreement for fire protection between the city of Thomaston, Upson County, and the Rock Hill Volunteer Fire Department. So, with that, Jason, you want to walk us through this, or?
Sure, and I just want to, and then with this, we got this from the city. This is an executed copy by the city.
Right.
Yeah. So I think what the key components that you're looking for here, and what this is, the city has provided us is an update based on our joint water and sewer agreement, which, among other things, provides automatic aid to the same customers that utilize the
Central Georgia.
right. Now,
Well,
I'll get into that a little bit. So essentially what we're doing is, you'll see in section 3,
Yeah.
we're adding Interfor and Renew because those two are getting that jointly funded capacity. So that kicks in their eligibility for automatic aid from the city. Now, I imagine that the strategy is, since there are technically no other tenants in the technology park, because so that they're not actually spelled out. So any future tenant under that would be eligible according to that agreement.
Well,
Those are the two that are currently
Golden Star is already there, so
but they're not utilizing the joint capacity.
they're not.
But they're still there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I did go back and check it against the language. I would defer to Heath. So I'm just pointing out to you what's in it. So section 3 names automatic aid for Interfor and Renew, and then I believe it's section 10 that references the master sewer agreement in totality. So it's essentially section 10 says the terms and provisions set forth herein shall be binding at such time as the master sewer agreement entered into expires. So in other words, that's where they're generally referencing the agreement as a whole that includes the automatic aid provision. I think I said that correctly.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? And I mean, Rock Hill, the fire department is a party to this agreement, and so were you guys part of working with the city on drafting this up? I mean,
Chief Harris and I sat down and had a conversation, and what I told her was, since the city is getting the electrical fees out of there, water and sewer fees, that I felt like, we needed to work out some kind of agreement for them to help out with fire protection also. So and we submitted to the city lawyer and our city attorney, and this today on the radio, the first I've heard of this. That's why I'm here tonight, to try to find out myself.
so you haven't seen this, or you don't know if this is something you guys are gonna.
I mean, we'll take any kind of help we can get, but as far as, I thought it would come back for or a copy would come back before we could see it, before it went before anybody, just to make sure. But then when we heard about it.
Yeah, and it also will require them to execute it as well.
Right, because they own
Yeah.
the fire district.
That's correct.
Yeah, so, all right, well, I mean, the main intent is, obviously, if we have a huge structure fire out there at one of these industries, that, they would have their apparatus out there to assist in it, so hopefully, we take action on this tonight, then you'll certainly have time to look at it, because you're party to this agreement as well.
Right.
So,
Mr. Chairman, if I may, though, as we all know, based on the master sewer agreement, I guess regardless of whether or not we enter into the three-way automatic aid, the city's bound by the other agreement to provide automatic aid as defined in that agreement. So this is, I appreciate that that Rock Hill and the city got together and actually tried to put a more comprehensive automatic aid agreement together.
who's going, basically, who's going to who's gonna do what when they show up out
Right.
there.
Yeah, and very standard parts of either mutual aid or automatic aid agreements, it talks about scene management and if one is assisting the other, who is in command on scene, and it just clarifies that so that when they come together on a scene, that it's already determined.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really great deal. So
And the state of Georgia doesn't recognize like ISO and standards and training. They don't recognize mutual aid. The only thing they recognize now is automatic aid. So
Yeah.
that's why we're trying to get it into automatic aid agreement.
Y'all happy with it?
They don't know yet.
We don't know yet, haven't seen it.
Well, I mean, you talked about it. Did the talks go well with the city when you talked to them?
Yes, sir, with the chief they did.
Okay. Well, I would guess that if there was some sort of disagreement, I mean, the automatic aid is still going to happen.
Right.
But if if there's anything else you're looking in here specifically from the city, I mean, obviously that's between
It
you
just
and.
kind of caught me off guard when I saw it on the county commissioners.
Kind of caught us off guard when it showed up on our desk wanting us to sign it. Yeah, we really had no discussion, haven't been part of this
Right.
discussion, but, we just wanted to make sure that, that apparatus was available for use at those high-value structures out there. So a lot of people depend on those places for
Yes, sir.
employment, so.
So if, once the board makes a decision whether or not to execute it tonight, then it will go to the fire department and their board will have to vote on it and approve it. And then if that happens, then
Yep, then
we're
it's
in much
done.
better shape than we were before.
Okay, all right, so
So
John,
what's your recommendation? Let them talk about it first?
No, my recommendation is to approve. That way they're the last level of approval, which makes sense to me. Because they were the party that was added. Because the master sewer agreement, obviously we couldn't commit any volunteer fire department to enter into an automatic aid with the city. All we could do was ask as they provide automatic aid to those customers. So this just takes it to the next level, so I appreciate them actually sitting down and really making it more clear. It's actually going to work better this way rather than the city just automatically responding and without
Some
it being clearly
coordination.
defined. So,
yeah, so what we need is, I guess what I would ask for is a motion to allow me to execute this agreement on behalf of the county.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion that we authorize you to execute this automatic aid agreement.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it and say that I wish that they would have shared this with Rocky.
yeah, and I apologize. I was unaware that I thought copies went out to both parties. So
No, I got an original draft, but I knew changes had been made, and I hadn't got one. And I talked to Chief Harris the other day, and I said, have you heard anything from the city attorney? And she said no, so we assumed that it was still in work. Mr.
Chairman, the city adopted it. I think they dated it.
The 7th of February.
Yeah.
You can,
That's a long time ago.
you can have this copy, I've got another copy if you want. Okay,
Thank you.
so I have a motion made and seconded, is there any other discussion? So a motion made and seconded to authorize the chair to execute this automatic aid agreement between the city of Thomaston, Upson County, Rock Hill Volunteer Fire Department. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Wilder?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes.
And if you have any trouble, come see me.
All right. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and, we've got some things to talk about during comments, and we'll do that before we go into executive session. So, Jason, lots going on in the last day or two, if y'all haven't noticed. I'm sure we all noticed it, but.
So, Mr. Chairman, in the last 48 hours, we went from average mundane weekend to a local state of emergency. So obviously a lot has happened. I want to start by not trying to individually thank everybody, because I work pretty closely with just about everybody in the county over the last 48 hours, but the response was our best yet, and it was really impressive. Everywhere from the folks helping get information out, some of those folks are in the room, some of them are not. The flow of information, the communication amongst staff members, the response of the frontline folks. I was absolutely blown away. We really knocked it out of the park. It's the best response we've had to a storm event in my near 5 years here. So we continually get better.
We keep having a lot of practice.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of practice. But I can't say enough about the county employees and the volunteers. Everyone works so closely together. I will obviously sit down with our EMA director and include others as a kind of a post-operation review, hopefully in the next few months, once we get some major road damage repaired. But overall, I thought the response was just not even frustrating. It was smooth. I mean, it was really well executed. So a lot of people in this room were part of that. Hopefully a lot of the folks that contributed are watching, so my sincere thanks. So with that, we ended up in a declaration of local emergency, or a state of emergency, as we say, and among other things, that enables us to join with the state in having a rapid response, and one of those rapid responses is a suspension of procurement policy so that we can get some road work done. So I want to give you a little bit of an update on where we are with that. And this will be continuously changing, but we have 2, possibly 3 crews from one contractor that is going to tackle Jeff Davis, Andrews Chapel, Turner Lake Road, Jones Road, and McCrary Road. Turner Lake and McCrary are 2 locations. And then we've got a pair of other contractors that are going to tackle, in the coming days, Rocky Bottom, Franklandale, and Odom. We will actually have people on site, and I think some equipment's already on site now. Jeff Davis Road and Andrews Chapel Road. So I think we've got equipment on site in both of those places, and that work will begin, I think, as early as tomorrow. So essentially the way this is going to work, and this is not something that we've had an opportunity to discuss with the other board members. That's why I've included for my notes just a copy of the declaration. So as we negotiate these contracts for these individual projects, they will go immediately to the chairman for authorization and approval, and that can happen through either April 3rd, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. and we did that to match the governor's executive order because that's when his expires. If that one is renewed, this automatically renews to match the states, and then it will go away when the states goes away. So staff will negotiate the contracts on each of these individual on each individual project repair work. We need to probably enlist, if we end up with a federal declaration of disaster, and we're working towards that with state emergency management. If we reach that threshold, we're probably going to need some consulting services to help us with submittals so we can get reimbursed federally. We've already discussed with our state partners at GDOT, and they've said just to keep track of all the work we're doing and submit each of these individual items or projects as a single road and put them in the LMIG system as a request for additional LMIG funds. So we'll be keeping 2 tracks. We need to keep track of it as if we're going to get federally reimbursed, and as if that doesn't happen, that we potentially could get partial or entirely state reimbursed for the work. So we'll have a lot of work to do internally to keep up with the expenses. And my recommendation is, as the chairman executes these individual task orders to these contractors, that we'll put them on the consent agenda so that as they come, so not for approval, but for what's the term that we use when we do that sometimes?
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement, so that you'll actually see the documents as they flow through, and obviously we'll keep copies and we'll send them to you via email so you'll have them, but we'll spread them across the minutes as they come, so. But it gives us the opportunity to move quickly, and that section of the SOE is A7. So section A7 of the state of emergency declaration gives and that's under our current ordinance and state law, gives the chairman the authority to execute that without having to come to the board to approve it. We estimate that each of those individual projects are roughly going to be in the $200,000 range for each one. So we can expect that times 7 or 8 potentially. So the last thing I want to say to that is we're in excellent financial shape to be able to respond immediately without assistance. So I think the likelihood that we'll get reimbursed for most of this is very high, but we don't have to wait on financial assistance to get started. So the fact that we are in the financial shape that we are gives us the ability to move quickly. So we talk about how important it is to have a healthy fund balance. Now we're showing why it's important. So those are the only two comments I want to make. Just again, thank you to everybody that didn't sleep on Sunday night. It was a lot, probably 70 or 80 people, including the chairman himself. So.
Well, I think, yeah. So I just want to echo what Jason said, and I'll tell you, I know the road department was out there. There was a lot of coordination between the sheriff's office, road department, EMA, getting the word out. I mean, yeah, all the fire departments and everything. So we've gotten this down pretty good. So and basically, you know, we hit the ground yesterday morning with the road department superintendent, Chris from EMC Engineering, myself and Jason. We hit the road and went out and laid eyes on the majority of these. I know they had some more to go. In fact, I think 2 showed up after we were done. So we knew that yesterday afternoon there was a likelihood that there would be more, and there could potentially be more. Mm-hmm. So this just really, you know, just allows us to respond quickly. I mean, so it you know, one of the things that we had asked for was, you know, how quick can we get somebody out there? Jeff Davis Road, as we all know, that's like one of our major corridors. And you know, and everybody's patient right now. But now the sun's out, things are starting to dry out. They're not going to be so patient. So it's great that we've already got equipment on the site, on the way to the site. And this contractor, I think, had a lot of the material, the pipe and stuff. And there was a rush on the pipe. So that's another reason it was imperative that we get out there and get moving on this real quick, so we could get our hands on the material before the supply dissipated. So my hat's off. We only had one citizen of all these roads. We only had one citizen that was blocked, and so you know it was like, what are we going to do? You know, she couldn't go left, she couldn't go right. Way out there on Turner Lake Road, and the staff, James Melton and his team went out there and they fixed it where she can get in and out. Nobody else is supposed to be out there on that road, that section of road. It's a very small section of Turner Lake Road, probably 3/4 of a mile, and she's the only resident there. But I talked to her again today, and she was very appreciative. So, you know, I asked her if she baked, if she wanted to take something out there. Those guys would appreciate it, I'm sure. So they did a lot of work out there. They went ahead and closed it up, buttoned it up, and got it to where, you know, her vehicle could go across there. And even went so far as to put a guardrail up out there. So, you know, it's not for public use. It's just for her to get in and out. And it sounds like, you know, quite potentially within the next 2 or 3 weeks we could have that going. So we're prioritizing it based on traffic, and it's great that we're bringing some other folks in potentially to help. So it was a very rapid response. So and the road department again went above and beyond. You know, I expect them to go out there. And it looks like a daggum, we could probably leave it up and not do anything, but that's not the right thing to do. So, yeah, long day. Everybody needs to remain safe, you know. If you see water across the road, don't drive across it. You know, you're putting your life at risk when you do that because you don't know what's underneath the water or what's not underneath the water in a lot of cases. So, and it changes. You know, we may not notice it, but it will change. So, we'll go from there. Other than that, that's really all I have. You guys have any?
My comment is pretty much centered around the same thing, the emergency response and thanking the people that did come out. I know there was a couple of roads in District 1 that had water over the road, but it was not very deep, and they had, you know, some volunteers had blocked the road out to keep cars from going by until the water subsided. But once the water went down, we saw there was no obvious damage. Yeah, that's all I had.
You ready?
I'm with James Ellington tonight.
Oh, Lord.
All right, April the 1st is the last day you can sign up for your homestead exemption. We did a lot for these seniors and everything in this county. The tax assessor does not know how old you are. Everybody's going to get a $10,000 off of their assessed value, but the older you are, the more you get. Tax assessor doesn't know how old you are. You have to sign up for this. After April the 1st, you're going to have to wait a whole nother year before you'll be able to do it. So please, you know, make sure you go see your tax assessor. I know he may be busy, but that's their job to give you everything that you deserve. April 1st, was that Friday?
Till the weekend.
Saturday.
Is it Saturday? Okay.
So you got till this Friday?
Yeah, you got till this Friday. So, you know, I also want to ask for prayers for James Ellington again. He's still
Having issues.
he's still working on getting better, but he needs some prayers for him to fully recover. I also want to say, same thing everybody else said, kudos to all the county employees, Chairman Allen, volunteer fire department people, nobody's mentioned them yet, but everybody got out and helped, and road department did a tremendous job, James Melton, and the real people though, are the people that got out there and did what they were supposed to do with their hands and not just look at it. You know, volunteer fire department people and the county road department people. They didn't have to direct traffic, they was out there with their hands working. So, you know, they did a great job. You know, we got through it. Grateful nobody was hurt. And this water's going down and it looks a lot better. And I'm done.
Okay. Jessica, don't forget you. Mr. English, you have anything?
I'm happy with it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go into executive session to discuss potential litigation and personnel. And this will be one of the rare times, Mr. Piper, that I do anticipate that we will have action after executive session. If you want to hang around, or if you'd like, reach out to us afterwards. We can pass that along. You know, we'll obviously keep the YouTube video going, so you can catch it there if you don't want to hang around. I expect it's probably going to be 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So with that, I have a motion to go into executive session for personnel and litigation.
Second.
For a second. Okay. We're in executive session. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Appreciate you.
Everybody that leaves, I appreciate y'all showing
Chairman,
up.
we'll just hang here until you call for us.
Well, why don't you you to come on back.
Chairs aren't
Because
Yeah.
we're gonna talk
Well,
about
I got a little arthritis too.
some concept, and then we'll have you leave and we'll get into
Okay.
detail.
Make it that copy before you leave.
Hey,
But then what you talking about?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna say on the ballot, getting any over with, so. I'm trying to get it, help everybody.
Okay.
Help out. All right, thank you, sir.